In April 2025, one of the biggest sports business deals of the decade was announced. LeBron James, the most commercially successful athlete on the planet, had just become a co-owner of a vodka brand. Not a hot new product, not a rising category, a brand that had just lost 32% of its sales in a single year, a brand that no buyer had wanted, a brand that spent 17 years being the face of a man currently sitting in a federal detention center awaiting trial on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. LeBron James just accidentally bought the world's most toxic vodka, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it happened, and why the company that set this whole thing in motion walked away richer than ever. Let's go back to where this story actually starts. Not with LeBron, not with Diddy, with a bottle that shouldn't legally exist. The year is 2003. A British company called Diageo, the silent owner of Johnnie Walker, Guinness, Captain Morgan, and about 100 other brands you've never connected to a single name, has a problem. Grey Goose has just proven something that broke the entire drinks industry's logic. You can charge $40 for vodka, not because it's better, because if you make it feel French and premium, people will pay. Diageo wants a piece of that. So they approach a distillery in southern France with a single instruction: build us something ultra premium, something different. The distillery's answer? Grapes. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Vodka, under United States federal law, is defined as a neutral spirit, without distinctive character, aroma, taste, or color. The law says nothing about what it has to be made from: grain, potatoes, beets, even grapes. As long as the final product is flavorless and neutral, you can legally call it vodka. Diageo's lawyers found that gap, distilled the grapes 5 times until every trace of flavor was stripped out, and called it vodka. They named it Ciroc, and then it went absolutely nowhere. 5 years, 40,000 cases per year in the United States. Grey Goose, by comparison, was doing millions. The problem wasn't the product, the problem was the story. When a vodka drinker hears distilled from grapes, their brain immediately misfires. Is this wine? Is this brandy? Is it even real vodka? Confused customers don't buy, they just move on. And Diageo was watching millions in investment quietly bleed out with no end in sight. So they made a decision that would generate hundreds of millions of dollars and eventually blow up in the most spectacular way possible. They went looking for a man who could make people stop thinking and start feeling. Enter Sean Combs. By 2007, Diddy was more than a celebrity. He was a cultural institution, music mogul, fashion designer, party host to the most photographed events on the East Coast. He was the shortcut to status, and he was also someone who desperately needed a new chapter. A nightclub shooting in 1999, years of legal proceedings, a label losing momentum, a personal life under relentless media scrutiny. By the mid-2000s, Diddy needed something that could bury all of that under the weight of undeniable business success. Ciroc wasn't just an opportunity, it was a rescue operation. Diageo offered him something unprecedented. Not an endorsement fee, not a flat rate per appearance, a profit-sharing arrangement. 50% of all U.S. profits from Ciroc in exchange for handling all marketing and cultural positioning. No equity, no ownership stake in the brand, just half of every dollar the brand generated for as long as it grew. If Ciroc failed, Diddy lost nothing. If it worked, they split the upside. And what Diddy did next wasn't marketing. It was architecture. He stopped talking about grapes entirely. He stopped talking about France. He stopped explaining the product. He started showing what the product meant. Every red carpet, Ciroc in hand. Every music video with a club scene, Ciroc on the table. He built the white party in the Hamptons. All white dress code, invitation only, surrounded by cameras, every year. More media coverage than most national advertising budgets can buy. Then he moved on the clubs. Free cases flooded into high-end venues in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. Bartenders were trained on Ciroc cocktails specifically. Bottle service presentations were designed with sparklers, dry ice, theatrical entrances to make a $40 bottle feel like it was worth 4 times that. Ordering anything else in the right club between 2009 and 2014 felt like admitting you hadn't arrived yet. The numbers were staggering. Before the partnership in 2007, 40,000 cases. In 2008, 200,000. By 2010, 1 million. By 2012, 2.4 million cases. That is roughly 6,000% growth in 5 years. Nothing in the bottle changed. Not the grapes, not the distillery, not the legal loophole. The only thing that changed was who was holding it and what holding it was supposed to say about you. But here's what the official story always skips. Ciroc's explosion didn't just make Diddy rich. It made him untouchable. Every magazine profile from 2009 onward led not with his music, but with his business empire, his brands, his equity, his partnerships. A Forbes cover doesn't ask about old nightclub cases. It asks about quarterly revenue. The bottle was doing something a publicist never could. It wasn't just selling vodka. It was manufacturing credibility. And Diageo was the infrastructure that made it possible. Think about that for a second. $1 billion spirits company provided the production, the distribution, the corporate structure, and took 50% of every dollar generated by what was, in reality, a celebrity image rehabilitation project. They weren't just selling a spirit, they were selling the illusion that Diddy was a clean, legitimate businessman, and the market believed it for 17 years. Then the cracks started showing. In 2023, Diddy filed a lawsuit against Diageo itself, claiming the company had deliberately underfunded Ciroc and his second spirits brand, De Leon Tequila. The internal allegation was brutal, that Diageo had categorized them as urban brands, code the lawsuit implied, for receiving less marketing investment, less distribution support, less executive attention than Diageo's other premium products. That case settled quietly in January 2024. No public details, just silence. But something else was already in motion. November 2023. Diddy's former partner filed a civil lawsuit with allegations that were severe and detailed. It settled within 24 hours. That speed wasn't a sign of innocence. It was a sign of how badly someone wanted the details sealed. More lawsuits followed. More names, more allegations reaching back years. In March 2024, federal agents, Homeland Security, not local police, raided Combs' property simultaneously in Los Angeles and Miami. Federal investigations don't become visible until the evidence is already substantial. September 2024. Sean Combs was arrested in New York City. The federal indictment that followed described not isolated incidents, but a systematic criminal operation maintained over years. Racketeering, sex trafficking. The man who had been the entire identity of Ciroc for 17 years was now the name no corporation wanted within 100 miles of their product. Diageo moved fast. Campaigns disappeared overnight, social posts were deleted, press photos pulled, 17 years of co-branding erased as quickly as a legal team could operate. But you can't erase what something means. Grey Goose means French luxury, Tito's means American craftsmanship, Belvedere means Polish heritage, Ciroc meant Diddy. It had always meant Diddy. And when Diddy became toxic, the brand became hollow. In the fiscal year ending June 2024, Ciroc sales in North America dropped 28%. By early 2025, down 32%, the single worst performer in Diageo's entire global portfolio. December 2024, Bloomberg reported Diageo was quietly approaching potential buyers. No announcement, no press conference, just backroom conversations, hoping someone would take the brand off their hands. Nobody wanted it. That is where LeBron James enters the story. And this is the part that almost nobody has reported correctly. LeBron didn't go looking for Ciroc. LeBron had already built something of his own. Back in 2020, he invested in Lobos 1707, an ultra-premium tequila brand founded by Diego Osorio and backed through Main Street Advisors, the investment firm run by Paul Wachter, who also manages LeBron's financial portfolio. The brand was built around a centuries-old distillation process, Spanish barrel aging, and a straightforward story: premium tequila with cultural roots. By 2025, Lobos 1707 was growing, but mostly in North America. It needed global distribution. It needed a major spirits company's infrastructure to scale. Diageo had exactly that, and Diageo needed someone to take Ciroc off its hands. So on April 7, 2025, Diageo announced a joint venture with Main Street Advisors. The terms? Diageo hands over its majority ownership of Ciroc in North America. In exchange, Diageo receives a controlling stake in Lobos 1707 globally. LeBron, through his investment in Lobos, automatically became an investor in Ciroc as part of the structure. He didn't walk into a room and choose to buy Diddy's vodka. He walked into a room to sell his tequila, and Ciroc came with the deal. The most commercially savvy athlete on the planet, the man with a lifetime Nike contract, an ownership stake in the Boston Red Sox through Fenway Sports Group, and a production company that generated a billion-dollar deal with Netflix, just inherited the world's most toxic vodka brand as a side effect of getting his tequila onto global shelves. And now consider what he's actually sitting with: a brand whose only identity was a man currently awaiting federal trial, a product that lost nearly a third of its North American revenue in 12 months, a name that every potential new consumer associates with one of the most high-profile criminal cases in entertainment history, and a category, premium vodka, that is being systematically devoured by the very product LeBron was trying to sell in the first place. Tequila now outsells vodka in premium on-premise accounts across the United States. Here's the question nobody is asking out loud. Can you rebrand something when the brand was never about the bottle? Ciroc was never sold as a spirit. It was sold as a feeling, success, aspiration, arrival. That feeling was manufactured entirely by one person. Strip that person out and what's left? Grape-based neutral spirits in a glass bottle. Technically vodka under US law. Culturally empty. LeBron's team is not naive. Paul Wachter negotiated the sale of Beats to Apple for $3 billion. He brokered LeBron's lifetime Nike deal. This is not a group that makes careless moves, which means somewhere in the math, they believe the Diageo distribution network, the infrastructure that can put a bottle in every premium account on earth, is worth more than the reputational baggage attached to the brand it comes with. Maybe they're right. Maybe in 5 years, Ciroc will be quietly relaunched with a new identity, a new face, a new story, and most people won't remember where it came from. Or maybe a brand built entirely on the illusion of one-man status simply cannot survive once that illusion is gone. Because here's the uncomfortable pattern this whole story reveals. Diageo didn't make one mistake. They ran a playbook. Find a dying product, find a celebrity who needs corporate legitimacy, structure the deal so the upside is shared and the downside belongs to the brand, collect hundreds of millions for 17 years. When the association becomes a liability, extract yourself and immediately find the next celebrity to do it all over again. LeBron James wanted tequila distribution. Diageo wanted an exit. And somewhere in the middle of that transaction, the world's most toxic vodka brand found its next chapter. Whether that chapter ends differently than the last one is the only question that matters now.